You know how we're constantly told to make green choices? But how do we really know if a paper bag is better than a plastic one? Well, today we're going to dive into something called Life Cycle Assessment, or LCA for short. It's the scientific tool that helps us see the entire environmental story behind, well, pretty much everything we make and use.
All right, so here's the plan. We'll start with why our best intentions sometimes go wrong, those hidden impacts. Then we'll get right into what life cycle assessment is and how it works. After that, we'll look at why it's so incredibly important in the professional world. And finally, we'll peek into the future of sustainability. So let's jump in.
So that big question, are so-called green choices really green? It's a tough one, right? We all try to do the right thing, but the truth is, the obvious choice often hides a much more complicated reality.
Okay, picture this. You're at the store, you pick up a product made from some kind of bio-based material instead of the regular plastic one. That feels like a clear win for the planet, doesn't it? But what about the land needed to grow the crops, the water use, the soil quality? These are the exact kinds of tough trade-offs that are part of the conversation now.
And this really gets to the heart of a huge challenge in sustainability, something called problem shifting. It's this tricky situation where we fix one problem, say we reduce our use of fossil fuels, but in doing so we accidentally create a whole new problem somewhere else, like say, impacting our water supply. So, how on earth do we avoid that trap? Well, the answer is to stop looking at problems in little tiny pieces and start seeing the entire picture. And it all begins with a really powerful shift in perspective called life cycle thinking. Before you can even start measuring stuff, you have to change your mindset. It's about seeing a product not just as this thing in your hand, but as the end result of a long, interconnected chain of events. And that way of thinking is what gets formalized into life cycle assessment, or LCA. Now, this isn't just a philosophy. It's a structured, scientific, and internationally standardized method. It's how we put real hard numbers to a product's true environmental footprint. And what really gives LCA its muscle is that it's not just some made-up process. It's governed by a global rulebook, the ISO 1440 standard. This is so important because it means every LCA follows the same rigorous steps, whether it's done in Berlin or Boston. This commitment to seeing the whole story is why you'll often hear LCA called a cradle-to-grave analysis. It literally tracks a product's journey from the moment its raw materials are pulled out of the ground, through the factory, through its life with you, and all the way to how it's thrown away or recycled. The whole shebang. Okay, so let's get practical. How do you actually do one of these assessments? Well, it's not just a messy data dump. It's a super structured, four-phase process. Right, so those ISO standards lay out a really clear path. First, you define your goal and scope, basically what are you studying and why. Second is the inventory analysis, which is a massive data collection phase. Third, the impact assessment. This is where you figure out what all that data actually means for the planet. And finally, interpretation, where you make sense of it all. Now, it's absolutely crucial to understand the difference between the inventory and the impact. The inventory is just a long list of data. All the energy you used, all the emissions that came out. But the impact assessment, that's where the magic happens. It answers the so what question. It connects that list of stuff to actual environmental problems like climate change or smog. It turns a list of ingredients into a real diagnosis. Okay, so we've got this robust, scientific framework. But why is it becoming so vital for professionals, for businesses, for policymakers out there in the real world?
Because this is not just an academic exercise. In the professional world, LCA is a powerhouse of a decision-making tool. It's used to design better, more sustainable products, to guide corporate strategy, to help governments write smarter policies, and yeah, even to back up marketing claims with real solid data.
And look, you don't have to take my word for it. Its credibility is recognized at the very highest levels. The European Commission itself has said that LCA is the best framework we have right now for doing this. That kind of endorsement shows you just how central this tool is becoming.
When you boil it all down, LCA is the perfect antidote to what's often called stovepiped thinking. You know the deal, where one department only cares about cost, another only cares about engineering, and nobody is really looking at the total environmental impact. LCA forces everyone to see how it's all connected.
LCA has totally proven its worth for looking at environmental impacts. But we all know sustainability is bigger than just the environment, right? So where is this powerful way of thinking headed next?
While the whole field is pushing forward, The next evolution is called Life Cycle Sustainability Assessment, or LCSA. And the big question it's trying to answer is, can we use this same amazing whole system approach to measure total sustainability?
And the big ambition of LCSA is to finally bring together the three pillars of sustainability. So it takes the environmental LCA that we've been talking about, and it merges it with life cycle costing, which tracks all the economic costs over a lifetime, and social LCA, which looks at the impacts on people, from factory workers to the community.
And this leaves us with a pretty profound question, doesn't it? These tools are giving us this incredible ability to see the true, interconnected consequences of everything we do, environmentally, socially, and economically. We're getting a level of clarity we've just never had before. So the only real question left is, armed with that knowledge, what will we choose to change?